This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by MediaTek. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Friday, November 15th, 2024, the end of the year.
Nice.
And I'm here with Anku Jain of MediaTek. You're the general manager of MediaTek in India. So
Absolutely.
You're the person to talk to. Thanks for bringing us here in Delhi.
My pleasure, and welcome to India.
Absolutely. It's been a delight. And I just wanted to say, it's really exciting to get to know what MediaTek's been up to in India and kind of frame it in the context of, what you guys are doing in the rest of the world. I talk to Finbar and others at MediaTek regularly about the actual product launches, the chips, like we did the 9400. I've had a lot of folks from MediaTek on, and I've always wanted to talk to someone from the India side of things because I think what you guys are doing here is fascinating. So I wanted to maybe start quickly by asking you, could you walk us through kind of like a global overview of like what, MediaTek brings to tech in India? How does India fit into MediaTek's strategy? Because obviously India is a huge part of technology these days.
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I think, there are two aspects to why we are in India. So one aspect where how it all started was because of the talent pool here. So we started our R&D office in 2004, and now we have 3 offices in India, and we are doing a lot of research and development in the areas of software design and hardware design. So all that is happening, and so much of that is happening here now in India for MediaTek. And so globally, we have quite a significant presence here. So that is one important aspect, how it started all.
Right.
About 20 years ago. And of course, no one would miss that India is a huge market.
Right.
So I think that is a very, very important reason that we are here. And because of the inherent advantage of India, their own, the population and the demographic dividend and the young population. So all that brings in its own advantages of, huge growth of requirements of consumption.
Okay.
So that's how, MediaTek is actually very, very excited to be here. And we have multiple verticals that we are powering here.
Tell us about those verticals.
So, one of the vertical which is the most famous that we have is the smartphones.
Of course, mobile.
So mobile phones. And so that, recently, of course, we had the 5G deployed last year.
Right.
And in October last year. And since then, 5G has really picked up speed. So the 4G to 5G transition is still ongoing. And so that is one big vertical. In fact, you would be aware that we have 54% market share.
I know this is one thing that I want to stress for the audience because, this is a mobile podcast. We talk about that. So I think, tell us more about that because I think it's really exciting to find out that there are places in the world where MediaTek dominates. I mean, worldwide you do, right? 54. But I think that nowhere is it more obvious than here,
in India,
right?
Yeah. So in India, it's 54% market share. And I think there are multiple reasons to why that happened.
Right.
One is that, the smartphone penetration has been increasing steadily, but we have, our MediaTek brand has been doing very, very well now recently.
Right.
And of course, the products that we have, the chips that we power are doing amazingly well. And, the people really like the features and the power consumption aspect and the computing power aspect. And it all started, I would say, a few years ago with the P series of chipsets, which were 4G chipsets. And that really people loved those chipsets.
Yeah,
and
the Helio, right?
The Helio chipsets.
Yeah.
And we have not really looked back after that.
Yes.
And one other thing is that for 5G, our top management actually had a strategic decision that we would like to be the leaders in 5G,
right,
as compared to the previous generations.
Right.
So the previous generation, like 4G and 3G, we were not the leaders. There was a lag of a few years. But for 5G, I think, our management took a very clear decision that we want to be leader in that.
Right.
And therefore, for 5G, we have been able to create the entire portfolio of chipsets, starting from the mainstream, like, Dimensity 6000 series.
Yep. All the way
up to flagship, which is the...
Absolutely. I have it right here.
Yeah.
The Finex 8 Pro right here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah. So as you mentioned, the Dimensity 9400 chipset, which was launched recently. So it's an entire range. And now one thing I see in India is that if you compare 6-7 years ago versus today, 6-7 years ago, people did not really like to mention the word, the name, the brand of MediaTek. And now people proudly mention that, the OEM partners.
Yeah.
And they feel that adds so much value, and how, that actually adds to their, the way to convince the users to sell it off.
Absolutely.
And so it's really a long way, we've come a long way.
I mean, I've been covering mobile for almost 20 years now, a little more than that. And, I've seen the rise of MediaTek in not just, its presence on the market, but also, how like in the last 2-3 years, there's been an inflection point where, it's no longer strange for a well-known company like Xiaomi or Oppo to have a flagship 9000 series chip and proudly talk about it in their product.
Absolutely.
Right? In fact, right now, the Find X series, this is Oppo, for example, it's only MediaTek. They don't have an elite device from Qualcomm yet. And that tells me a lot. Like this is significant, I think, considering both of your companies launch similar products around the same time.
Right.
So walk us through a little more about how the India market in mobile is different from the market in the rest of the world, and what you do at MediaTek to differentiate for this market. Because, my audience is well aware. I cover global mobile, right? So I have actually a lot of folks from India listening and watching.
Sure.
So they know already, but my other audience in the UK, in Germany, in the US, in Canada, they don't know really. And I've tried to educate them, but what do you think is the big thing that MediaTek needs to kind of like pay attention to for this market?
So I think one is about the requirements of the people here, right? So if you go to, right now we're in Delhi, so that's a tier 1 city. But if you go to certain remote areas like tier 2, tier 3 cities, mobile phone essentially is the only device they have.
Right.
To connect to the world, to internet,
exactly.
and so on, right? So it is a very, very important device for them. And they pay a lot of attention when they buy it, because it's going to provide them with education, with entertainment, and connectivity with their friends and so on. So I've seen that the Indian users, they really look at the specifications a lot.
Yeah, they're very tech savvy.
They want to make sure that they get the bang for the buck.
Exactly.
Right? Including camera and computing power, etc. And so that is one aspect. It is actually able to empower the masses, right? And therefore, and that's the only device they have. Second thing is, you will notice that there's a lot of content generation economy which has come up.
Yes.
Right. So I think it's true with the US and also with India. So there are a lot of people who have chosen a career of being a YouTube podcaster or content generation for short videos and so on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for that you need a very good device.
Yes.
Right. So people really look forward to a phone which is able to provide everything in the on that device.
But price sensitivity is high as well,
and
right?
The price sensitivity is very, very important.
Yeah.
So all that really ties in, and I guess these are some unique aspects of India. I don't know if this is really true everywhere. That you have it's the only device for internet access, and content generation is important. So I guess
this is a good example. The Lava Agni 3, right? I showed this to my audience already in a little Instagram reel. Like this is, you gave us this phone for to try out while we were here, and I'm really impressed because it's a $250 phone that does everything right,
absolutely.
Right? And it nails the camera, it nails the performance, it nails the battery life, which I presume is extremely significant.
Very.
And as you said, content creators can use this as their main device.
Right, absolutely. And then I mean, this is probably common everywhere you go outside India as well. But now the smartphones are being used for all kinds of activities too. Right. Book and taxi or order some meal or something. So people really need the device all the time. So, but I think these are the aspects which people really take care for, and I think MediaTek has done a good job in communicating to the end user. Although we are a B2B company, but we have been able to communicate to our end users including the new generation, that what all these features are all about and why our chipsets are powerful and the technology bit of it. And so they know that. And that's what they look forward to when they buy the phone.
Yeah, I think what's interesting to me is that, you just turned on 5G a year ago in this country. And you were in a really good position for that because you have that brand equity with MediaTek and the Helio chips that are all 4G chips that are, being super popular. You've been selling 5G devices for a while already.
Right.
With the Dimensity lineup. But with 5G, turning on about a year ago, like it's everywhere now. I was using it on this phone. This is Dimensity 7300X. And, I was seeing 5G, and I'm roaming, of course, on a US carrier, but, I'm seeing 5G. So I think that's been a big revolution. It's allowed new entire, product categories, right? Like in terms of internet payment has always been huge here,
absolutely.
right? But now you're seeing growth in those areas. And then, with 5G, you get better, performance for cloud connectivity. So that enables AI, right?
Yeah, right.
So tell us a little bit about that. How do you think the last year, I think with 5G and the AI, kind of being more prevalent on smartphones and at the same time, chipsets that are affordable that have AI and 5G. How is that changing the landscape, you think, in mobile in India?
So, for the AI, I think that is very, people talk a lot about that, right? And also on the handset, it has a lot of use cases. But recently, if you see the Dimensity 9400 chipset, what we have unleashed is what's called agentic AI.
Yeah.
Right. Now that is something which is outcome driven, that you can set it up to do some tasks, right? It's not only the intelligence that you get out of it.
Finbar and I talked about that when he came on the show for the 95. Do you think that it's going to apply to very quickly to the use cases in India specifically?
So I think, another thing that we have done is that we would like to tap into the developer ecosystem.
Okay.
That, the entrepreneurs are the ones who are going to make it big.
Right. Yeah.
So even if you see an iPhone, I think it's not only the hardware and the software in the iPhone, but
it's
also
the ecosystem
of developers, right? I think we look forward to that on the Google Android phone or the iPhone. That's what we look forward. So that is, I think, something which will be unleashed going forward. But what MediaTek has done is they have provided all the ingredients, right? Amazing computing power. And,
absolutely. You've got everything ready to go.
Right. So, and it can actually process 33 billion parameters and some insane numbers, right? Running a Meta Llama 3.2 model. So all that it just shows the capability of that phone.
But I think you're not talking about one thing that makes India particularly unique, is that you have a very strong, very excited, large number population of developers and tech savvy people who are driven to create new economies and new platforms around AI, around 5G. And you're basically empowering them with these new chipsets and these devices. Right. I think that's a big difference. I live in Silicon Valley. Of course, people are driven and they want to create apps and systems and products. But you don't see that all over the world. I think you're in a unique position.
So in India, it's very, very, the ecosystem is quite mature in that sense.
Yeah. So that's exciting to me. I also cover car technology, and mostly EVs. And I was very excited you had a Tata EV here. Tata is a brand of cars in India. They're very, very big. They own Jaguar and Land Rover. So it's not like, and of course, they've made an EV for this market. It's small, it's affordable, and it's powered by MediaTek.
Yes.
Which is, the cockpit, of course.
So that's one big thing which is exciting us, the automotive market. So if you see automotive,
it's a big thing here. Lots of cars everywhere, right? It's growing rapidly. And pollution is a big problem. So obviously EVs are going to help a lot. Yeah.
So actually, if you see the Indian behavior, people are going for premiumization. So they want to have bigger, better for everything. Bigger TVs, better phones, bigger cars, right? So that kind of fits in well with what MediaTek wants to do, because for automotive, again, that will be a big growth engine for us. And we are going to have the ones you mentioned, like Tata Punch EV and also
Punch EV, that's what it's called.
Skoda Slavia it was, or Skoda Kushaq.
Yeah.
I think all these cars are using the MediaTek technology inside them. But also the two-wheeler market. If you saw the two-wheelers that
there was an electric one there.
And so we have a partnership with GeoThings, and we are providing the IoT cluster for the scooters. So that is also quite a growth engine for us, right? And so two-wheelers, four-wheelers, all of that.
And the other thing that, as an aside, the thing that blew my mind really the most being here is how big Geo is.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, it's kind of like, I feel like it's kind of like Xiaomi in China, right? Yeah. Like it's not just a brand, it's an ecosystem.
It's ecosystem, yeah.
They make everything there and everything. And downstairs you have a Geo book. Like it's a Chromebook, Companion powered, right?
Right.
And I'm thinking,
what the heck?
Like, I have never heard of this. And yet, I've had a number of Companion powered, tablets and laptops from MediaTek before. But Geo, I was like, that was exciting to me. I love that.
Correct. I think it's a big conglomerate, and they do everything under the sun.
Yeah, there must be a good friend of yours, a good partner to have.
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell us, where do you see things going in India going forward? I mean, I think there's a lot of challenges here. I'm seeing myself too, right? Like pollution is surprisingly worse than I expected. And of course, electrification is going to help that a lot. But, you say that the Indian market wants things bigger. And like, how do you think MediaTek can help the Indian market solve some of these issues? The huge population, pollution, etc. Do you think that MediaTek can, through all the ecosystem, because you do TVs, right? Of course, you're like a leader in that field, and smart things, smart devices. So like, how do you think you can help, the inevitable need for India to improve the environment, at the same time satisfy the customers, and also in the quantities, the numbers? That's the thing people don't understand, right? Like when you're selling a phone here, like this Lava phone is probably selling hundreds of thousands of copies. Yet if that was sold in another market, you'd be selling 10 times less or less. Correct. So the numbers here, as soon as you do a product, the numbers are insane. So that's the benefit, right? But like, how do you think MediaTek can help India improve some of the challenges?
Yeah, so India is a very aspirational country. We have a huge GDP growth rate, and to carry that forward, I think one important aspect that one has to take care of is education and having people connected and empowering them with technology.
Absolutely.
So that's what MediaTek has been able to do, and I think that will continue because without connectivity, without smartphones, without the internet, not much can be done.
Absolutely.
Even if we go to tier 2, tier 3 cities, that they all want that. And that's what we have democratized. We have been able to empower them with all this technology.
Yeah, and I think that because you have provided a portfolio of chips and products that are affordable in every category, even at the flagship level, right? I think that's going to help because it gives the Indian people access and opportunity. And then, as you said, once education happens, everything can improve from there.
Right.
I think this is such a positive message. I love it.
Absolutely.
I think great. And the other thing is my first time in India. People here are so friendly, so willing to help. It's just incredible. It's been such a wonderful experience. So yeah. Any final thoughts about, MediaTek, India, any other things we haven't discussed you think are important to talk about?
So, of course, MediaTek is a global company, and we do have a lot of local partnerships. Like we talked about Geo things. We have partnership with HFCL, with Airtel, and of course Geo. So all these partnerships are locally driven, and they have their own unique requirements. So one example I would give is that we have this 5G FWA, fixed wireless access.
Oh yeah,
so
of course, that's a big thing.
It's able to reach the last mile connectivity for areas which don't have fiber. Now, that could be a very specific Indian requirement, right? So MediaTek is working with our partners here for local requirements. So that's one very exciting aspect to the whole thing.
Do you think NTN is going to help a lot with India in the rural parts? Because obviously you're very active in that, right?
Yeah.
Non-terrestrial communications, satellite, internet, basically.
So yeah, you'll be aware that like last year MWC we did launch our NTN solutions. So that is still evolving. That story is still evolving, and of course. Even companies like, Starlink and Amazon, Kuiper, all these guys are trying to come in here.
Yeah, of course.
Right. And Geo and Airtel as well also are looking into the market. So it is an evolving story and we'll see how it goes.
Obviously, your chipsets support that. So it's just a matter of deploying the network.
It's a matter of the ecosystem building up.
Yeah.
The network ecosystem. Our chipsets are ready.
I mean, for me, as I said, 5G works great here. When I was out at the Taj Mahal yesterday, incredible, by the way, folks, if you have a chance to go, I did find connectivity was challenging. And I think it's just because of the number of people in one area, the capacity.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, if we had satellite connectivity, every handset is a receiver and off the
that'll work
right?
then, yeah.
I think that will eventually happen.
It would happen, I guess, yeah.
It's starting to happen in North America. Beyond just emergency. Like Apple started with emergency, Samsung followed, Google's doing it now.
Yeah.
But now Apple is rolling out actual messaging. So you can message via satellite when you have no signal. And I think it's going to start happening at a broader scale. And I think countries like India are absolutely going to benefit.
Yeah, so the government is quite aggressive on this also. They're trying to figure out the spectrum launch and whatever, how they want to provide this services to the companies. So the government is very gung-ho about this.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
We'll have you on again, hopefully soon.
Thanks for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. So we're in India on a bus on our way to the Taj Mahal. We just did a MediaTek interview. So here we are. We are in India for MediaTek. Taj Mahal, Nick Gray on my left here, Shannon Morse, JC Bagnell. So, yeah, India, Taj Mahal.
This is my first
MediaTek.
time. I mean,
My first
feel like
time.
Yeah.
First time.
all of our first time.
Yeah, it's my first time to India. It's
Wow.
this is the farthest I've ever been away from home. I mean, I guess technically that is the farthest you can get because this is the other
Literally
side.
for us, it's like
It's
halfway.
literally the other
Yeah.
side.
we started drilling a hole in our backyard.
Yeah.
We'd probably
We
end
would
up somewhere.
Pop out
Close
over
to
here.
where we're at now. Yeah.
Growing up, everyone would always say, dig a hole to China, but you technically wouldn't. You'd come
Incorrect.
up in
That's
India,
right. Yeah.
US.
We would show up in
So-
New Delhi.
So with us being like 13 hours, you're like 12 hours, somewhere
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's literally the halfway point.
So
around
I
the world.
hope this works out for you. Those of you watching on Patreon, yeah, I know it's not the most exciting view, but it's at least the four of us on the bus
I
with
mean,
the
the view
fog.
outside,
It's very
the
foggy.
smog, you
It's a really
can't see
beautiful
anything
view.
more than 50 feet
It's-
out
it's
the window
not-
anyway.
It is gorgeously diffused light for photography.
That's true.
We can nerd out and talk about textures failing.
The draw distance of India could be upgraded.
So, but we do have a few things to talk about, which is kind of fun. We have, let's see, what do we have? Well, we have a bunch of MediaTek stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
A lot of conversation
and
about
like I have this phone here in my hand.
It exists.
It is a phone that is made in India for the Indian market. It's called the Lava Agni 3. So I want to talk about that for a little while. And then we have, what else do we have? We have, you've reviewed the Galaxy Tab S10 Ultra.
Yeah.
S10 Ultra,
So
yes.
it's another MediaTek device. And
Yes.
you've had the Tab S9 Ultra before that. So you actually
I have.
tell us like
Compare
how
and
you
contrast.
Yeah, I
compare.
can give you
Yeah.
some comparisons.
We all have Find X8 phones of some kind, pros and non-pros, different colors. Anyone?
I got a white one
Oh, you
somewhere.
got the white one.
I
There
don't
you go.
have that phone yet, but I've got to
And
play with it.
Didn't you hand it to Shannon? I think you'll like
For a second, she lost it.
So this is something we can't talk about, unfortunately, very much.
Well, we can say that it exists.
Yeah.
And we can show you how pretty it is.
And
Can we show the
that's about
screen?
it.
Are we allowed to show the screen?
You can show the screen. You just can't talk about the screen.
There you go. Exciting. So, yeah, those
Show,
are some
not
of the
tell.
things. And then
That's
there's
right.
some rumors and some leaks and some news items, like this crazy LG stretchable display.
yes.
So I have no service right now. I can't get to my Google Docs. Awesome. Do you guys have service on your
No,
Wi-Fi
I
or whatever?
lost connection.
Me
I
too.
don't know if I do.
I think
Oh, I'm LTE right now.
Oh, okay. We'll piggyback on Shannon.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. You got the topics. You can drive us.
Oh, yeah, I can
Okay,
do that.
good. Because I was going to load them
You're
up.
the new podcast host. Congratulations.
That's right.
You've been
Upgrade.
promoted.
Shannon.
Oh, thanks for joining, everybody.
Yeah, so,
Welcome to my show.
Well, I've called you all here today.
yes. So
Let me hold
let's start
court
with
on the bus.
the Agni
Yes,
3.
love
What do you
Agni
guys
3.
think?
I adore seeing a feature that we've only seen previously on ridiculously expensive phones.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah.
which feature?
So
This-
that rear
the
ticker
monitor on the back?
display.
Yeah.
So that's like Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra, which would have been around an $1,100 phone. And then also there was that weird Nubia that had a rear screen.
You have the circular one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
and
just
so
showed them
now
the Doge.
we've got something it's
Doge
cute.
is-
It's a differentiator. You notice it immediately.
Yeah.
And it's a practical benefit where if you want to line up a selfie, I shoot rear camera
I love
selfie.
being able to take pictures with this back rear
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah,
And-
I was just having a conversation with somebody about we keep getting these flagship tier devices with ultra camera specs with
Yeah.
a 1-inch sensor and
Right.
Yeah.
two periscope cameras, but you can't use them when you're trying to record yourself. Unless you know how to frame yourself right, because I
Right.
do all the time. But we're
Right.
experts at
Yeah.
that, right?
Right.
The average consumer
we
is not.
we drill that.
Yeah, exactly. But then, we do multiple
You
takes
Are
because
so
you're like,
good at it.
but we do multiple.
He saw firsthand. I
Oh
pulled
my
off
God.
a banger of a
You
shot.
nailed it yesterday.
But it's like you look at the reflection in the
Yep.
glass a little bit. You're like, okay, my forehead's right here. Okay, a little bit up.
Also,
and I'm
why
good.
I love the larger rear camera modules because you get so much more of a mirror.
mirror,
But
right?
but this is one of those
That's
things
true.
that gives us the end run.
It solves that issue.
Yeah.
Like you have a tiny display on the back
That's
of the
all you
phone.
need.
Doesn't cost that much. Displays
Yeah.
are super cheap, and the fact that you can launch the camera, you can see yourself. You can it's a touch screen. You can tap
Yeah.
to record. You can stop your phone, stop recording video. It just allows the functionality of the phone to increase exponentially with something so simple.
And I worry that we've kind of buried the lead on this because we immediately started talking about $1,000 phones, that the price on this is ballpark like 3 to 4.
240.
It starts 200?
240.
240?
So we have the 8 gig, 256 gig version.
Right.
But there's an 8 gig 128.
Okay.
And that is 240.
Gotcha.
The other one is only like $20 or $30 more.
Yeah.
So we're still looking at like less than 279.
See, I think this is a feature that moves the needle on making your camera more useful.
Yep.
And that
Yeah.
should not be a prohibitively expensive.
For me, this is why flipped smartphones are so good. The problem is with some, and I haven't looked at these photos yet off of the device.
They're not bad.
But with the flip smartphones, they always turn on selfie processing.
Yeah.
This one does not.
Like it changes the processing when you're recording it, so you actually get lower quality,
that killed me.
which pisses me off so much. And I'm like, you have this opportunity to give us really good video and really good photos, and then you decide to piss all over them.
That killed me on the Nubia because it did that exact same thing. I'm using the better sensor and it's ratcheting everything in this photo.
So this thing is interesting to me because as we talked, the specs are really pretty impressive too.
They're solid.
This is
the display is really nice, that OLED.
This is possibly more impressive than even the CMF Phone 1. Mind
I was
you,
gonna say.
the CMF Phone 1 is available in the US.
It also has very fast and responsive security.
Yeah.
The optical fingerprint scanner.
It's very nice.
It's pretty
So
quick.
it's got a 1080p 120 hertz OLED display, which is very bright actually, because we had some pretty bright moments
It's
outside.
very bright.
We have a Dimensity 7300X, which I mean, this is the first one with the X version of that chip. It's probably a slight variant on the many 7300s that exist out there.
It comes in 3 nice colors too.
Yes, this is purpley, by the way. I don't.
So
it's in a case, but
it's a purple, a white, and then there's an orangish red.
Yeah, I like that
color.
red
And
color.
I don't think any of us got the orangish red one. And I was like, I
wanted
need
that
the
one.
orange.
comes with a case too.
Yeah, I got the white one.
Yeah, the white one's
Comes
cute.
with a cute case.
What color
Oh, the
did you
white
get?
one looks nice.
My so I haven't opened mine.
What color is yours?
I wanted to actually shoot
Purple.
a video of it.
Ooh.
Purple. It's
Purple.
actually like here. You'll dig it. It's nice.
Everyone
I
else has been
like
running
it.
around.
The case-
with
the
those.
She's like, I will trade you for a purple.
And so the other thing is
There's no pink one, though.
5,000 milliamp hour
that's
battery,
pretty.
Yeah.
66 watt wire charging, doesn't have wireless, of course. The only thing that's obviously missing, like the CMF Phone 1,
NFC.
is no NFC.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is
Um,
really weird for the India market with all the tap to pay.
True. Oh,
Like
I've got
everyone's
Signal
pushing
again.
tap to pay in this country.
Now,
This-
do you think that was a targeted omission because of QR code payments?
Yes.
That they're
Yeah, I mean they have with the options for QR code payments, but
Right.
with tap to pay being so
ubiquitous
ubiquitous here, especially in India, you would think that would be a priority for a phone like this. Like we added a screen to the back of the phone, but
right.
we didn't give you
the
tap to pay.
compromise was the ability to
Like the compromise was the 15-cent NFC chip.
It's
Like, we
interesting
didn't
to
give
me
you
that NFC is still one of those features that becomes a dividing line on different
I don't
prices
know why,
of phones.
because it's
Yeah.
so cheap to put
Yeah.
in. Like there's no, like you do have to design around it,
For
right?
sure.
Like you have to put it in to make sure it's working properly. But still, it is incredibly small and incredibly cheap. It shouldn't be something that should be omitted from a phone.
And so the other thing about this phone that I think is really interesting is it's really responsive. It's stock Android.
Yeah.
Like there's the camera app is a little.
It is very clean.
Camera
Very
app is a little customized, but most of it is. And there's an action button, a separate button you can program, and there's code in the settings menu for that. There's also code to control the rear screen. There's a few things for the rear screen I found in the settings. Like you can reset, because the rear screen runs like essentially like a smartwatch as a separate device with its own lock code. So if you want to see notifications and stuff, you have to actually unlock the back. And there's no way to use the fingerprint sensor on the front, under the display to do that, which is interesting. But there is a way to reset the password on the outside.
That's cool.
From the main system. Also, so we talked about storage. It's 8 gigs of RAM and either 128 or 256. No micro SD. It's got dual SIM, of course, dual standby, 5G. The cameras are interesting. It's a 50 megapixel main sensor with OIS, Sony something.
Yeah.
It's been okay, but I find that the one that's really impressing me the most on these 3 cameras is the other 2 are 8 megapixel, 3x telephoto, and a regular like ultra wide.
Right.
And the 3x telephoto has better image processing to me than the main sensor. Now it's shaky because obviously as soon as you zoom, it's like there's no OIS. And it doesn't do like the electronic stabilization that like locks on like you see on some higher end phones.
But 3X is such a handy.
But I've taken such
focal
great 3X photos with this. And like for a $250 phone, like I'm like, other than NFC, I could rock this as my daily. I feel
And not really
I
feel
truly
significant.
feel that
Yeah.
way, which is like quite amazing. So
It's the competition in the market where I've been trying to keep pace with companies like Infinix and what they can put in a phone sub.
this is
$300.
fully like Infinix Techno
It's
levels of.
When you start seeing phones outside of the U.S. market, European
Yeah.
market, that are built for specific regions of the world where they don't have the extra economic bloat of
right.
we're Samsung and we're selling a phone in this market, and
Yeah.
phones at this tier sell for this price. People can't afford those phones in these markets. And so there's building specific phones from the ground up, but with the features that a lot of us in the US really love,
For sure.
but not that economic bloat that's in there that says, oh, this is a mid-tier device. Oh, a mid-tier device must cost $550 to $700. No,
Well, I mean, because
like
you
it
think
just
about
resets the expectation.
you think about the comparison between something like this and a Galaxy A series, and like this is a lot
This
more
is better than the
competitive.
Galaxy A.
Oh
in my
yeah,
opinion.
it's way better.
It's a lot more competitive than I think people from outside our region. I mean, people from the United States would kind of understand. I would be curious to know, because I'm not as familiar with the region here, like what support, repair,
yeah.
things like the software
Repairability.
updates,
It
things
comes
like
with
that,
repair to your house, right?
The card that free phone replacement. So inside, as you unbox it, there's a warranty card.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you break your phone, you get one free phone replacement.
Oh wow,
Like they won't fix it for you; they will replace your phone.
Which is
that's intense.
So like it takes the
That's unheard of in the
repairability
US
thing out of
market.
the factor. Like you just get a new phone, you get one,
You get one.
you get one.
The first one's free.
First one's free.
It's very cool though. It's very cool.
It's like
approach.
Samsung with their foldable phones. You get your first
For sure.
foldable display
Foldable,
replacement
yeah.
for
No,
free.
it's not the
But-
display. It's actually the screen protector.
The screen protector.
But
yeah.
to your point, you're not building in the price of like a $5 billion a year marketing campaign
Right.
Correct.
into the price of the phone. You can easily drop unit price.
Well, let's be clear, like a marketing campaign in India, like we all know what the ad rate buys are for India versus the
Right.
US. Marketing campaigns in India are a lot cheaper
true.
than they are
For sure.
in Western markets.
It's
So-
nice to hear your perspectives on this because I know y'all have had access to a lot of other like international market phones
Mhm.
that I haven't seen. So hearing that this is still like a standout for you is really interesting.
We're on Edge now.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
I mean, we
I'm still on 5G.
to be
Oh,
clear,
wow. What are you
what
rolling with?
service?
Google Fi,
I'm
Google
on
Fi.
Google Fi, but what phone are you on?
the Samsung S24
Ah,
Ultra.
It's interesting because this
has
is
a really good
this is an India phone. It should
I mean-
have all the bands, and I've got Google Fi installed
So
in here.
on my Oppo, I'm on 4G.
Oh,
Now, you have no opinion on that Oppo, though.
I have no opinion.
There
on
is
this.
no opinion.
My
Oh, right.
opinion is under embargo.
Speaking of which, shall we tangent?
Yes, let's pivot.
So I would love to hear about this Oppo Find X8 series, the camera samples. We've seen some of those online.
yeah. So if you go to, I think all of our social media right now, we have.
I feel like
some
this is
camera
safest
samples.
because, again, the holding of the review and
It's a weird embargo.
Yeah,
There's
so
multiple
this-
days.
Yeah.
Like Oppo does, they have tiered embargoes. We've been able to show photos, not talk about them. We've been able to show the phone,
not talk
not
about it.
talk about it.
Okay.
So as far as photos go, I will say this. If you have looked at Oppo phones in the past, especially the Find
Fine
series
yeah.
and the Pro series,
Yeah.
this is a good succession to what we've had in the past. And Oppo, on that point, cameras have always been a high
I mean,
priority.
the Find X series is about cameras.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It is their camera phone.
And
flagship.
so it's once we can actually tell you all the details, it's going to be pretty incredible. But like, if you want to know the specs, we can't talk about the specs, but the phone has launched in China already, and the specs
Right.
are revealed in China. So go look those up. But we can't talk about them. They're going to be. I
Well,
can't say. Like,
Well, and-
we've already mentioned the specs on the show because they're publicly available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it just in
But we
sort
can't
of,
talk about the quality. What I always say is that I used the Find X7 Ultra last year
That
to
was
go
an
to Antarctica
incredible
for my main
Fantastic.
cameras. And let
Wow.
me say this, that the Find X8 Pro does not disappoint after using the Find X7
that
Ultra.
is so
That you
close to
should-
making a claim.
That should tell you all you need to know.
Well, so for me, Oppo is one of the companies that I only get to visit. I don't get to live in them. And I don't know that I've had an Oppo long term since they were sort of stapled together with Vivo, with that
You just need to
BBK
pass by.
umbrella. And so I'm so much more familiar with Vivo and what Vivo does in all of these markets that this is kind of a refresh for me. Like this feels like a very different device than what I've used in the past.
The one thing I do like about Oppo's software is that it's made more for Western markets than the Vivo software is.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
I mean,
And so
this Color OS is Oxygen OS. If we just got Oxygen
been
OS
merged.
15 that launched for the OnePlus. It's out there now. This is essentially the same old.
And I've spent most of the year with my SIM card in the OnePlus 12. So there's a lot of familiarity.
One of the
one of the interesting things that we can talk about, because it is officially in the Chinese specs, is there's a share to iPhone option.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, it's a share to iPhone option if you install an app on the iPhone.
But still,
I thought it was direct share.
No, so an iPhone user needs to go install the Oppo app.
Oh, what the hell? That's not really...
It's not a real thing. You have to install a specific app on the iPhone.
Oh, God.
But in these markets where the phones are going to be more popular, there's so much less market pressure from Apple consumers that we face in the United States, where you can kind of count on every social situation being 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
People have iPhones. Here, this is actually that nice halfway point.
I would say that, yes, but it's device specific. So only an Oppo or a OnePlus person would be able to use this versus how about Google, you update Quick Share for the iPhone.
And then give them
and then every Android user can share with every iPhone user. Actually just build it in.
Preferable.
Actually just build it into Google Search or Chrome. And that's installed already on the iPhone, and then it just works.
So the problem with that, I don't believe, is the Android side. I think the problem with that is
Apple would reject that app submission so fast. It would be unbelievable. They're like, no, you cannot do that.
So to me, iPhone owners halfway, if they can install an app on their phone, then...
But so if Oppo can come up with this, why can't Google with Quick Share, right? And so make it a universal app that... Yes, it is a sharing app. This is exactly what it's used for. So if Oppo can get the app approved, Google should be able to get the app approved.
Well, I don't think Apple would necessarily block it. Like, I feel like that could, especially now, like they're being scrutinized for monopolies and stuff. You know, I think what do they care? Like, you can share, like right now you can share a photo with RCS. So like the quality is good, you know, now that iPhones have RCS.
It's a little better.
Not original quality though.
Yeah. It's still squeezed pretty hard, but it's better than it used to be.
And much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, the expect some more info next week on the show about the Find X series. I've got both the Pro, which I showed you, and the regular in black. I'm not using the regular because it's also a Russian market phone, so who knows what spyware is on there. Yeah, I just set it up like with no login, like just so I can use the camera if I need to. And then there's unboxing. So Nick, you're editing yours. I'm about to edit mine. There's a few out there floating around.
My unboxing's already up. Yeah,
I mean, this is going up Sunday. So
it went up 2 days ago.
Mine should be up by then too. So check that out. And I don't know if you guys don't have them yet.
I don't do unboxings.
No,
I need to. I need to get over myself.
I did a lava vertical video unboxing on my Reels on my Insta. I'm very proud of it. Nice. Very nice. You should check it out. I'm learning from the young ones.
From the young ones. I'm in my 40s.
I wasn't pointing at you. I'm just saying from the young ones. Like, you know, social media escapes me so hard.
Yeah. How about the RedMagic?
Let's talk about it.
Did y'all get an email about that?
I did. I need to respond. There's a new one. The review units are going to be coming. Speaking of which, by the way, I'm hearing rumors that there are review units out there for the Asus, the ROG Phone 9.
The ROG Phone 9 showed up at my house the day I got here. I got my notification, and I'm like, I got a box from Asus. And
the same rumors say that there will be an embargo lifting next week. Okay. So we should be, I played with it in Hawaii. They wouldn't let me run benchmarks. Yeah. But if you go to TechRadar, to my TechRadar columns, you'll see a hands-on photo set.
Awesome.
Yeah, First impressions.
In Hawaii, they had the phone, and then they had the exploded version of the phone. They had this cell.
Oh, yeah, I love seeing
it has a dual cell, two batteries on the inside. So for faster charging. But then they pulled out the motherboard, and the motherboard on this phone is
like the size of an original memory stick.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the Sony memory stick, the original. Yeah.
And
like the gum size, like a piece of gum.
But that just like blows my mind to like these phones and all they can do.
Yeah.
And it's just this tiny stick. And with the SoC on it, with the memory, with all the image processing, everything, and also a heat sink built into it.
Right. So
right.
And I'm like, on that fan. Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
And the reason that the battery's on the other side, so if this is the phone, like the middle here has like the motherboard, and then the battery's on either side, is for balance when you hold it horizontally.
Oh, that's clever.
For gaming.
I like that.
Okay.
When you're holding it horizontally
totally
for
makes
gaming.
sense. Yeah.
I mean, I know that
I'm on
like
4G now.
RedMagic
Woo.
and ZTE, they get a lot of flack for software support and things like
Right.
that. But
Yeah.
I genuinely have not found hardware that achieves the task better. And if
Yeah,
you're
so
telling me gaming is a primary activity on your device, there
Yeah.
has been nothing that has touched RedMagic.
So like the one thing I like about the RedMagic and the built-in fans,
Yeah.
with also have the RGB lighting so that you can see that the fan is spinning
right.
on the inside, which is great.
Yeah.
And then you hear it spin up like
Yeah.
I know. It's
It is
23,000 RPM.
it's 23,000.
Wow.
Yeah. But then like benchmarks don't give you an idea of how things
No.
perform in the real world.
Yeah.
But if you do run 3D Mark and you do the stress
Right, yeah.
test and it runs through the same benchmark 20 times in a row. So
Right.
it's running it for 20 minutes. And then it shows you round 1 versus round 20. And it shows you the results for each one.
Yeah.
And it shows you the percentage of drop off.
Mhm.
On the last year's RedMagic, the last one was at 99%
Yeah.
of what the first one was.
So what?
You're running this at
No, but here's
maximum
the killer.
speed.
When I ran my
100% of
benchmarks
the
on the
time.
9
Yeah.
Pro last year, when I ran my benchmark, even with the fan turned off, you're staying.
Oh yeah, because
Pretty high,
Staying
yeah.
the
like-
whole phone is made of metal and it's a heat, like the frame
It
gets
gets
really hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you
But
ran the fan, and the thing can run like forever.
But
Yeah.
but in some of like my torture tests, I'll do things like batch photo processing. Take 200 raw files
Yeah,
from a
and
Sony
that heats it up
A7,
so much.
and that fan keeps it. It's like the smallest percentage of performance degradation that I've
Wow,
ever
that's
seen.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
so
intense.
I'm excited about the RedMagic because as much as the software is a little janky, I love the price point.
Yeah.
I love the monolithic, 2001: A Space Odyssey build.
It's
of the
very
thing.
cyberpunk.
It's
It-
super dope.
100%.
And
I
now
love
that the camera is flush in the back,
Yeah.
it's even
because
more dope.
That's
Well, I
really
mean,
nice
the phone
when you have it
is
on
so
a
top.
half-inch thick.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But here's the thing that's really cool. I never got to publish my RedMagic 9 review last year. Just didn't finish it in time. Well, earlier this year, I should say. Didn't finish it in time. But this is the first RedMagic, the 9, is the first that I used where the cameras didn't suck. That
Yeah.
I felt like I could live with the camera.
Oh, good.
So that's a major improvement
Right.
for every previous RedMagic. And I expect the 10 to be just as good.
Yeah, I'm assuming the same because they actually, with last year's, they actually gave us, they actually gave
they
us
really
decent
improved.
sensor sizes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because RedMagic always skimped out on
They
the
did,
cameras, but they
yeah.
actually gave us decent hardware. The processing still needs work, but
I don't. You're never gonna recommend that for the person who.
no, but like
Yeah.
it's good enough for someone who photography
For sure.
isn't their main thing to look at the photos and be like, oh,
Right.
that's a good photo.
Yeah.
Those of us who actually use great camera phones
Right.
that were like, no, it kind of sucks. But for the average user whose main interest is gaming,
Or I was just saying,
And
not
they
the
can
average,
take good
the
photos.
hardcore
Yeah.
gamer
Yeah.
user. It's a functional camera that they can get
Exactly.
by with.
You can make that
But-
potentially your main phone, whereas in the past I've always said now you
Uh,
kind of need like a Pixel 8a or something to go
Don't go
alongside
alongside it.
your your RedMagic.
Because it makes me kind of sad that RedMagic is still one of the few examples of better power management, where I want to know, I plug this in and I'm going to use the phone hard, I can power the phone and not charge the battery.
Yeah, you get the power
Yeah.
pass
The
through.
pass through.
That is such a great
And like,
feature.
yeah, Sony did that, however mainstream we want to say Sony was. I think the S24 Ultra has a flavor of that, but I want that on every phone.
It should be something in the settings. Like it
It should be,
It's
yeah.
it's a simple setting. Like now we have the option to, plug your phone in at night, but it only actually starts charging in the morning,
you're about to
like
wake
an
up.
hour before
I
you
can
wake
also
up.
set a pad, don't go over 80% of my battery capacity.
Correct. Yeah.
And now the
every
last step
phone
is
should have that. Like every
power
EV has
pass-through.
that. No,
Yeah.
the set the battery level, like
Oh, no.
how much you want to charge.
But I want
That
that.
should be a standard feature.
And
in
then on
Android.
top of, I love telling people, like, I'm plugging it in and I'm not charging it
right? They're like,
Nice.
well, why are you plugging it?
because I'm playing Alien Isolation at 120 frames per second
Right.
on a phone.
that's going to chew through the battery really
so
quick.
I don't want the phone.
Well,
running
that's the thing.
hot.
Like, if you bypass the battery, you're bypassing all that heat,
yeah.
right?
That's
And
true.
because when you're charging the battery,
Huge.
you're losing 5-10%
Huge.
just the heat transfer.
So
Right.
what cracked me up? It wasn't the RedMagic 9. It might have been the RedMagic 8, where I plugged it in, did power pass through, had the fan running, and the phone ran like 10 degrees warmer to the touch,
Mm-hmm.
but the battery temperature was still lower than average. So it was like it found levels of performance above and beyond. And it was physically uncomfortable to hold, but it never slowed down.
I never
So
saw that.
I that's a cool feature to have in a phone.
Yeah.
What still bugs me is that laptops don't do that.
Yeah.
Because most people actually run their laptops at their desk while plugged in.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, your battery's not holding as much of a charge. I'm like, it should be power pass through.
You know,
If
actually, it should be
like if
more
your
than
battery is
that.
up more than
It should be, you know, the thing about batteries is I always compare them to lungs, right? You know, when you're physically fit, your lungs are able to have a bigger capacity because you use them more.
Right.
Like you breathe in more air and you expel more air.
Yeah.
So your lung capacity is higher. So lithium-ion batteries are like that. If you do what you suggest, a path-through where the battery never gets touched on a MacBook for like 5 years, that battery's still going to die.
Yeah. No, but like the difference is
not going to die like lose battery. It's not going to be healthy for the battery.
Right.
What they need to do in the background is go through like one cycle a week, where as though you're plugged in and you're in pass-through, it discharges the battery down to 20, brings it all the way back up to 80 very slowly.
Because it's one of my pet
That
peeves
is because you're giving it capacity, you're giving it that exercise it needs.
It's one of my pet peeves on the Surface, where it won't let you do. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but just if you open up the Surface and you just use it like average consumer, Microsoft won't let you just put a battery cap. It has to learn from your behavior that you need the battery cap.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's incorrect. I just want to go
No, I just want to be able to do it.
because I'm a grown up.
Well, batteries don't like to sit at 100.
Exactly.
Right?
Batteries, that's the
worst.
The highest stress.
100 and 0 are the worst places for it to sit, right?
Anything below 10% and anything above
90.
90.
Yeah.
And then if you are like, you know, storing your battery, like 40 to 50% is ideal.
Yeah. But short story incredibly long. Again, RedMagic putting out hardware. And I think it's still just validating that phones still have these segments, even if we can't always address them in reviews. Like,
did anyone look at the specs on the battery itself? Is it a 7,000
milliamp
hour battery, right?
I'm opening
And
it
it
up.
has like 80-watt charging or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, that's intense. So 80 watts sounds fast until you put a 7,000 milliamp hour battery on it.
Yeah, it's still
and then
gonna
I'm
be
like,
pretty
man,
slow.
this looks a little slow. And then I have to realize, it's 20% more capacity than the other one.
I had
So
to
it should
roll
take
with that
20%
rugged
longer.
Unihertz. It's one that's got the 20,000 milliamp hour battery. And
It takes like a day to charge.
120 watt charging is
Still like 2 hours. Well, then I think a lot of people forget when they say 120 watt charging, it only does that for like 5 minutes, and then it slows it to like 80 watt, and then it slows it to 60 watt, and then like most of the time you're actually charging at 30 watt.
Yeah,
but
I
the
have
surge is
specs
so
here.
fast.
So the battery
That first
is,
5 minutes.
battery is 6,500 on the 10 Pro and charges 80 watt.
Okay.
The 10 Pro Plus goes to 7,050 milliamp hour with a silicon nitride battery and charges 120 watt. I bet you that's going to reserve to China because they always keep the faster charging and stuff to China.
For sure.
256 or 512 gigs of storage, 12 gigs of RAM, LPDDR5X. These are the standard. The Pro Plus comes with 512 or 1 terabyte, 16 or 24 gigs of RAM, and that's
24.
UFS 4.1 Pro.
Ooh.
4.1 Pro.
It's-
And yeah, of course, 8 Elite right
It's
on
gonna be
this one.
fast.
8 Elite and like a massive vapor chamber and cooling.
And I
system.
love the display, how the bezels seem uniform all the way around.
It's like it's so cyberpunk because it's like
very
it's just you're holding a display. It's an improvement over like it's brighter than last year. 2000, it's 144 hertz still. It has 2592 hertz PWM dimming. Lots of people love that.
Yeah.
Eye fatigue. 512 hertz touch sensitivity on the shoulder buttons. You know, the other thing nobody talks about on the RedMagic is for 3 or 4 generations now, they've had an under-display selfie camera. And every time it gets better.
It's been getting
Like
really
nobody's talking about it because like we kind of like put those in the bin of their crap.
Yeah.
And we never talk about
I know with the
that.
first 2
But they're actually
generations-
getting better.
With the first 2 generations that I got to play with, it was really hard to demonstrate because if you took a photo of it, it looked like garbage, and it did not look like that to your eye when you were using
Exactly.
it.
Right.
It was really tough to showcase.
Now, pricing, we have Chinese pricing here. 10 Pro starts at roughly
Oh, they have only euros, but roughly 690 euros, which should be about the same in US dollars because they're very aggressive.
Yeah,
in their
usually
pricing.
about $700.
So $700 is what we expect for the base. And then the 10
That's a
Pro
great
starts
price.
at 780.
It's
so
intense,
the
yeah.
10 Pro Plus should be like 800 US.
Wow.
That's probably the cheapest 8 Elite other than the Realme
Yeah.
GT7 Pro.
Right.
And
But the
for-
Realme GT7 Pro was not
China-
sold in the US.
but
Yeah,
and
No,
also
it's not
for-
China only,
Well,
it's global.
Asia.
Yeah, global, aka not the US.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. Let's move on to some rumors or leaks rather.
Yeah, let's do it.
OnePlus 13R. So I was wondering about that because we've had the 12R that came out at the
Yeah.
same time as 12 last year, and the 12R is a great phone.
It's incredible.
It's an incredibly good phone.
Oh, I
So
love
are we
that phone.
getting a 13R because we know there's a 13 coming,
Yeah.
and it's already out in China, and we talked about on the podcast because the specs are out. And it's exactly what you expect, like an evolution of the 12.
Yeah.
So I would expect the 13R would be an evolution of the 12R.
Do you think that we'll get a price hike on 13R because it
If
is
we get
moving
it-
up a chipset?
That's a
I
good
think
question.
we're probably going to get a price hike on the 13 as well.
So it's
definitely.
Yeah.
Here are the specs, by the
Yeah,
way.
for
Snapdragon 8 Gen 3
8 Gen 3.
and full HD Plus and 6,000 milliamp
So I
hour.
have to believe that's a
6,000 milliamp.
but I have to believe that's a $50 price nudge over the 12R.
Yeah, and that's what
Maybe
made
it
the
is.
12R so compelling was you lose the cameras,
But
but you
It's
still get great
a
performance.
monster performing phone.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it was the price. Like that's what made the 12R so compelling was the
Right.
price point compared to
And
the
even
12.
nudging at $50
It's
is
gonna
a
be
different
hard.
It's gonna be
conversation,
tough,
right?
But maybe they won't. You never know.
I'm hoping.
What about you, Shannon? What is your take on these? Like
So
Pixel 8a, 12R. These phones are like in the US mid-range phones, like 500. They're like so
550.
compelling that it's hard to
I
say how do you
love
want to justify spending more money. 12R
yeah,
is so.
I was a
good.
big fan of the 12R, and I also got the
Sailor Moon.
opportunity. So they did the collaboration with Genshin Impact.
Oh, that's Genshin
on
Impact.
the 12R, and it was beautiful.
The purple
and I
one?
love the.
I was
collaboration.
at MWC and took photos of that. Yeah,
Oh my
it
god,
was so
I'm
good.
obsessed. I have one.
I got it at home when the special edition box and everything. It's
Jen Duchenne.
I didn't get this.
You don't have it.
Oh, I have one.
Oh, you-
yeah,
Oh,
I
you,
have it.
did you buy
Good.
it or did they send you one?
They sent me.
Oh, good.
Because I told them I play Genshin Impact, and
Oh
they
my
were like,
God.
"Oh, you actually know what this is?" And I was like, "Yes." So I unboxed it, and I was like, "Yes,
I
I
play
know this
Genshin
character."
Impact like
Keyshing, yeah, she's
sometimes.
awesome.
Oh, they probably heard me being like, why are people benchmarking at Genshin? It's never
So
properly
my
optimized for
question is-
Android. And they're like, don't send it to Juan.
My question
Juan's
is, like, are we going to see OnePlus do a similar collab with the 13R if the
I
leaks
hope
are
so.
true? If that was the case, that one was more expensive because it came
Yeah.
with the
Oh,
collector box
for
and
sure.
everything like that.
You know, there
but
was-
it was still a wonderful price.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what was awesome for a while there? Like, remember like during COVID, Realme and OnePlus and Oppo in general were doing all these themed phones,
I
like a
love
Transformer
these
phone.
phones.
The-
Well,
I,
I
have the,
just got a Transformer phone from Techno.
I have the Pepsi.
Did you
I have the
Technos?
Pepsi
We got
phone.
Transformers?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like
That's
just
really
recently.
cool.
Pepsi?
Just
I have the
recently.
Pepsi phone. It's a
That's
Realme
so
12
cool.
Pepsi edition.
I don't have the
Super
Pepsi.
collectible.
Well, Pepsi or the Coca-Cola one?
Oh, wait,
They-
maybe it was
Coca-Cola.
It was
But I
I
can't
got the
remember
Coca-Cola
who-
one. You turn the phone on and it
And it's
sounds
all-
like a can
Yeah,
opening.
it's amazing. I miss those
Cool.
collabs.
That's really
They
fun.
were so good. Do you
And they,
remember?
they actually sent the Realme cat
That's
mascot
right.
and
It
it
looks like-
the Coca-Cola color and it smells like Coca-Cola.
That's
Right.
so cute.
My daughter's got it
It's
in
on
her
my
room.
shelf.
Wow, that's
it's my
crazy.
shelf in my living room.
The amount of chemistry to make it smell like Coca-Cola.
Mine doesn't
smells.
smell anymore now after all these years. So, but yeah, they had all kinds of partnerships. They had gaming.
Because I remember there
partnerships.
was the Naruto phone. There was the
I've
Dragon Ball
got the
phone.
Naruto one
It
from
was a
Realme.
Sailor
Yeah.
Moon phone in China.
Yeah.
Baidu, I think it was.
And then,
or something.
I mean, always like Gundam
Yeah.
editions on stuff
Oh
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
Transformer
Oh, and then Dan-
ones.
Well, Samsung did
There's a Harry Potter
the Doraemon collab with the Flip.
Yeah.
That's
and
right.
Danny got that one. I was like, I'm so jealous.
And then there's
I
like
grew
the-
up watching
I mean,
Doraemon.
we could get a hold of them.
Speaking
right
of special edition phones, there's the Olympic phones from Samsung, and then there's like the BMW branded phones from
Right. Yeah.
IQ, EQ,
There's
So-
some bougie
okay.
ones.
QOO.
What cracks me up is that it's a BMW Motorsports
That's right. And-
collaboration.
yeah.
They have all of the wallpapers are Mercedes.
Really?
For years now, I've actually reached out to the people at IQ and like all of
It's
these
because
fancy
the
wallpaper
wallpaper app-
carousels.
The wallpaper carousel is a separate app,
Yep.
and you agree to
No,
separate
but-
terms of service on that app.
But don't they have? Isn't like the
back
main
of the
one?
phone has the triple stripe.
Yeah.
But then you turn the phone on, and the first thing you see is a G-Wagon.
Yeah. And then, but as soon as you go back out of the lock screen into then it's back to BMW wallpapers.
It's hilarious.
It's janky AF. But here's the other thing that's interesting: Lamborghini phones, right? Didn't there've been a bunch of those?
Yeah.
Or Ferrari phones, or Anyway, we digress. But OnePlus 13R. We don't know anything about U.S. market, but I hope it comes to U.S. and I hope they can keep the price.
I think if they just do like an SoC swap, you keep the 12R. Obviously, we have to compromise a little on the cameras, and maybe we don't get some of the flashier features like video out through the USB port. But if you can keep that price in check and offer an 8 Gen 3
and a 6,000 milliamp hour battery,
that is intense performance.
Shannon, what's next?
Let's see. I believe we got some Vivo.
Yeah, all right.
Vivo
So
X200.
the Vivo X200 series, very few of us have reviewed this because if on China only MJ is sitting further up has the 200 Pro, which I'm very much coveting. Oh my God, the zoom on that thing is unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, I've seen Benson's sample photos.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm like, when you actually use it yourself, you're like, holy crap.
This is as exciting an upgrade for me as where we made the transition to 1-inch type sensors for the wide.
100%.
The sensor size on this is the same size as the main camera sensor on the OnePlus 12.
Wow.
And that's the telephoto.
Yeah. So this is the rumor or the leak is that they're coming globally, which hasn't happened in a while. Just like the Find X8 series is. Last global Find X was a 5. Wow. And then 6 and 7 never came global.
Yeah. To be clear, it's the same sensor, but I think they're cropping in on the sensor.
No. So it's the same sensor size, and that gives them the potential. If you go through like raw capture and you get the full size, I think it's only optically like a 3.5x times zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have so much room.
But the amount of sensor that's actually being used to capture the photo, it's cropped in on the sensor.
And they don't allow anything wider.
Yeah, I don't think you can actually get a 50 megapixel photo out of it.
Oh,
like you're getting like a 35 megapixel photo just because of the Z depth. Like like the Sony did a couple years ago. They're like, this is a 1-inch sensor, but they're like, it wasn't really a 1-inch sensor because we weren't using the full sensor. So it's the Z depth. They can't get that.
I'll be curious to play with that because Xiaomi's problem, like on their medium telephoto, is they say it's 3x zoom, but it's really like a 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
But if you go and get a raw photo, you can get the full sensor size.
Ooh.
But if you go in auto, it crops you to the 3 times zoom.
Oh, right, because it's on paper.
It's a software crop. It's not. It's not a lens crop. And if we don't have a lens crop on that telephoto,
so that is why
that thing's going to be.
That is why
insane.
The Find X8 series, the OnePlus 13 from the specs we saw, and the Realme GT7 Pro, their 3x telephotos are all tetraprism.
Yes.
So 3 prism, essentially dual folded lenses.
Yeah.
Because now they're able to keep the Z depth in check. Because what it is instead of having the sensor like
at 90 degree
at
angle,
90 degrees, it's flat again and it goes in and out. Like so, the sensor instead of it's actually facing the wrong way, and it goes in prism, out.
I really feel we need to do like a whole separate hour on optical physics.
You and I need to nerd out about that at some point. If you guys are in, let us know.
A tangent podcast, an addendum, let us know.
Let us know, audience. We love you. Let's talk quickly about the the LG stuff, and then I want to hear a tablet for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
So there's a stretchable display from LG. Yes, stretchable, like an elastic rubber band.
That's crazy.
I know that I can't rub. How does
that work?
Square pixels are a thing, right? Like
well, just because it's stretchable doesn't mean it's actually usable in the way that we think it is.
Look at this.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
Look at this.
That's trippy.
Can I use that as a rubber band and put it around my hair?
100%.
Yeah, do it.
100%. You need
cyberpunk.
You need and it's like changing colors.
I want a cyber scrunchie that goes in my hair.
But hasn't it been interesting that LG Display has been coming out with a lot of these like patents and prototypes?
Yeah.
So
they don't have a phone division anymore.
It's 12 inches normally, but it can be stretched to 18 inches.
So a 50% increase.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, yes, this is a great display technology. This is not something that's intended for smartphones.
No. But they're saying actually they're saying automotive. They could wrap it on Like they could wrap it, like like a wrap basically, and then you apply heat and it shrinks.
The very first time I saw it, it was a Samsung display. It was years ago. It was years before flips and folds came out. And look, we've got these bendy displays. And the first thing I thought was industrial use and automotive. Yeah. And then we got phones that bend and fold and stuff. But I still feel
the reality is that like here we are 5 years or 10 years later, and many new cars have at least curved displays that are definitely plastic OLEDs. Like the Cadillac Lyric has the Lucid Air. They're all like the Porsche Taycan. They're all curved displays.
I don't think
like they're shaped like a kind of like a bean.
I also don't think we're too far away from this kind of tech being a boon for gamers. Like I can have a practical, flat, wide monitor when I just need to do work. And then I can have this thing that extends and wraps to my peripheral like a curved gaming
with the
monitor.
Edges, the displays that can be adjusted.
The problem is that then you're flexing the pixels.
You're just flexing.
Well, that's what I mean. Is like we're not too when we're having like stretchable and rollable and bending, and like I don't think we're too far from figuring out how to do this better. And you could make that a more sort of
like I can totally see like a flexible pixel, but then like that distorts what you're actually seeing.
Right. But if I'm gaming and I can treat my monitor more like a VR headset where clarity is center and then I've got peripheral out to the sides.
Yeah,
and then I add ambient lighting.
If you're just thinking about peripheral vision rather than like
no, I mean like this thing wraps. Like I put my head in a half circle of monitor.
That just put on a VR headset.
But I don't. I want all the toys.
You want to live in it. You want to live in it, not wear it.
So you want to be like Dark Helmet in
Spaceballs.
Spaceballs, where like your helmet is actually a VR, like but it's not like in your eyes. It's just like peripheral VR.
Just around you.
That's dope. So let's talk about tablets, Shannon.
Yeah.
You're the only one here.
I'm so surprised.
You are special.
We many of us got to play with it hands-on in New York. Like I think some people here have a review.
I did not.
But a lot of us, I chose not to get reviewed because I was so overwhelmed with other things.
Yeah.
I'm like, I do not have time for a tablet, especially an Android tablet that's going to be awesome, but I'm not a tablet person anyway. So
I actually use a tablet.
So you went from an S9 Ultra to S10 Ultra.
Yes.
So
the Tab S10
put us in the mindset of somebody who actually uses a tablet.
Yeah, so I use mine for like script writing. I go to a coffee shop and have this little collaborative like script day. No, so I actually sometimes I use the stylus sometimes to like edit videos or edit photography using CapCut or
very like
Premiere.
precise.
Yeah, like the Photoshop app that you can download. Like I'll use that kind of stuff. Also, it's really good for Magic Editor. Like really precise.
You can really see the images.
Yeah, the stylus is great for that and that big screen. So it's really
That's
good.
why I like folding phones. That's why I use folding phones.
So I actually bought the keyboard cover. From Samsung.
Turns into a laptop.
And it's a few $100, but it does turn it into a laptop. Then you can use DeX and you can go into a desktop mode. So you can multitask and stick up a couple of things on the screen. And a lot of people look at the Tab S10 Ultra or the Tab S9 Ultra. They don't want to get it because it's so big.
Right.
But I'm treating it more like a laptop than I am a tablet, to be honest.
It's larger than a laptop for most laptops.
How big is it? 14
Yeah, depending on your preference when it comes to a laptop. Yeah.
What can display size? 14 points?
Because I use a 12-inch laptop, right? Like I get the 14-inch tablet and I'm like,
my old laptop was 16 inches, so I actually
then it's a little bit of a downgrade. Yeah.
And so the keyboard's backlit too, I remember.
The keyboard is backlit.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
The whole thing. And the tablet is so thin that when you have it in the folio, you really just feel like you have a laptop,
skinny.
right? Yeah.
It feels like you could bend the thing because it's so skinny, but it's actually really durable and it's pretty. But I'm not going to do that.
Give it to Zach.
Wait. If you intentionally try to damage a device, you might break it?
I'm not intentionally
is that a thing?
JC, just give it to Zach.
Can let's see if this Oppo phone will bend.
I spent over $1,000
Now, on an iPhone, we just sort of flex, but on the Oppo, make sure...
This is a valuable phone. Do not break.
Make sure you go directly for where the cameras are.
Right.
So find the failure point and then apply as much pressure
as possible.
There.
Juan is being petty tech YouTuber.
Right.
I feel...
No, I do like the fact that this tablet has DeX, right?
Yes.
Because
Me
Samsung
too.
it's the Ultra, right? Samsung gives us these other mid-range tablets that could totally be running DeX.
Absolutely.
And they take DeX
Like
away.
the Z Flip cannot run DeX. Like, what? Who thought of that?
But like their other large 12-inch tablets, the light ones.
Yeah,
perfectly performant.
And I gave it to my wife, and she was like, "Oh, so I can run DeX on this?" And I'm like,
"No."
No. Because she was looking for a Samsung tablet to be her laptop replacement.
Yeah.
And the fact that she couldn't run DeX, and I'm like, "No, you have to spend." Because how much is this tablet? It's like $1,400. It's like $1,200 to $1,400. And I'm like, I might as well buy a laptop.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's a lot of people's criticisms when it comes to these tablets is I might as well
The
buy a
price
laptop.
is so high.
But here's the thing. Like, yes, when I need to do like Adobe Premiere Pro editing, I'm going to take out my laptop.
yes.
Because that thing is more powerful. It's going to give me what I need whenever I'm doing like those really, really mainstream work items for my tech YouTube channel. But if I'm writing scripts, if I want to play some games, I can play Genshin Impact on that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And the huge screen is
it's
gorgeous.
beautiful.
It's so pretty. And the big thing about this is the battery. So if I'm intending to go out for the day and I just
There aren't
need to
laptops
be on
that
battery,
touch.
like
you can use it as a battery pack.
It's getting better.
laptop
It is getting
battery,
better. Yeah.
But the tablet
because you don't have a
lasts
MacBook.
for
You're
over
not
a
used to
full
having a
day.
MacBook. That's why you
don't.
Trust me. You know what? Do you want to hear something
I'm
crazy?
not biological.
Do you need no? But do you want to hear? I'm going to give you
No,
a.
thank you.
I understand. I'm not trying to talk into
Don't
it.
try to talk me into it.
I'm trying to talk into a Snapdragon
Eject.
X Elite or a
I just
maybe a
said
Lunar Lake
Snapdragon
laptop because
X
this is
Elite.
The
my
new
reality.
Lunar Lake.
I flew in Air India 17 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Out of that, about half or maybe 14 of those hours, my laptop was on.
Yeah.
Now at very low
That's
brightness.
the Lunar Lake.
No, I'm talking
I
about
don't
my
want those
MacBook Air.
though, because I want full RGB on my keyboard.
You
Take
gotta
a
have.
guess.
Sorry, I
Take,
need
no,
rainbows.
listen to me. Take a guess at what my battery level was after 14 hours, low brightness with my MacBook running.
I don't know.
75%.
Okay.
Wi-Fi turned off.
That's great.
Not the lowest brightness, but low-ish brightness.
Yeah.
75% after 14 hours in Google Docs offline.
But this is where I mean, like
I can use, I never run out of battery. It's never an issue.
But that's the benefit of ARM, right?
right.
Which
That's
is
why I said
I was just about to
Snapdragon
jump in and be
X-
like, to
Snapdragon
mansplain
X Elite?
for Shannon.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm just saying,
No, I
like,
was about
oh,
to.
you were about to. No, I just feel like this is like,
Let me explain to
I
the
do think
security
you
to me, the
specialist
magic
here
of the
how
battery
our
life
chip
on the
works.
tab, it's not probably going to hit me as hard.
Right. Yeah.
Because like,
But for me, like I come from gaming laptops, which
2
I
hour
still
battery
like,
life.
and I still like to have.
But it's a
that.
portable desktop. It's
a
not
portable
a
desktop.
yeah. It's not a portable.
So
It's not a laptop.
if I'm
not a
so I have
laptop.
I'm very intentional when I'm thinking about how I'm going to use the laptop versus how I'm going to use the tablet. So if I'm going out and I need to use the tablet, then that's what I'm going to bring because I'm intentionally choosing that for the longer battery and for like a script writing.
I love that use
for the
case.
keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
You know what's
Like
fascinating?
that makes sense to me.
Theo takes their laptop with them in their backpack, M1 Air.
Yeah.
Because they use it as a battery pack when they know they're going to be away for a while.
Really?
They don't even use the computer.
That's-
To them, it's a massive, 12,000 or 20,000 milliamp hour battery.
Yeah.
And it was 2 USB-C ports, and they use it as such.
That's
Two USB-C
funny.
ports that give you really slow charging.
right.
Like,
No.
might as well get a battery pack.
It's not that slow.
Yeah.
But
On the MacBook Air,
but
Yeah, when you're charging other
it's like
devices.
15 watt or
But
Yeah, that's-
aside
this
from
phone
using a
charges at
laptop
80.
as a power bank, I'd like
This
to
is-
kind
they're
of
an iPhone
highlight
user.
I know.
this whole
Their
round
iPhone
robin
doesn't
that
charge
we've
it more
just
than
done is we're getting past that point. Like mobile and ARM is now directly comparable against x86 for a number of use cases, and having that choice where you could say like, the majority of what I need to get done, the tablet is the right tool.
Yeah, 100%. Also,
get
I
that
can use
done.
it in the bath. Just putting it out there.
Wait.
It's waterproof, dude.
Oh, I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
I can't take
in
my
the tub,
Surface.
you mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I can straight up.
So
Now,
you can watch Netflix and chill in the tub
I can let
and
bath
hold it
bomb,
in the tub because
What
if
you-
it
and that
fall-
thing can fall in the bathtub.
What you actually need is a little like blow up floaty thing for it, and actually just put it in the water and
And then
let
another
it
one
float
with like a
in the
Mai
water.
Tai.
That would
Okay.
be the best.
I bet you if you go on Alibaba, there is something
There's probably
like
something
that.
there.
So let's speak about the big thing. You've had the S9 Ultra,
Yeah.
and now you switched to the S10 Ultra.
Yeah.
You went from Snapdragon 8 Gen 2
I did.
but Dimensity
Now, someone-
9300, not the latest, last year's latest.
9300 plus.
Plus.
Oh, plus,
yeah.
right? It's the plus.
So it's the mid.
So what have you noticed? like not running benchmarks.
Well,
so like,
yeah.
what is the obvious
one of my
difference?
commenters on YouTube that would be a huge fail because you went
Actually,
from
it's not.
The
MediaTek
tablet,
to
the tablet is thinner.
some guy with like a
Oh,
totally
Sure.
empty profile thumbnail said that that's what it was.
Sure,
So.
yeah, definitely. Ooh,
Yeah, I
thanks,
love it.
Rufus.
I love it
Thank
when
you.
random people who have never used a MediaTek chipset will tell you how
Thank you.
how
Sorry, I got
bad
the one that rolled. So be
they
careful.
are without
Sorry.
the context of actually
But
using
it's
them.
thinner,
Yeah.
right? This year it's slightly thinner.
Yeah, slightly thinner. You get that anti-reflective coating, which has nothing to do with the chipset, but I love it, and I always talk about it. If I
Samsung display there got really
they
good
are
phones.
so nice, and having that on a
But-
tablet is awesome. But
What is
so
the practical advantage other than benchmarks?
the battery.
Okay.
Yeah. Big change I've noticed, especially if I'm doing something prosumer like CapCut, is when I'm editing videos, it lasts longer.
Yeah.
Like I can easily get like 10 hours out of that thing.
Well, and especially when
It's
you hit
nuts.
that export button,
Yeah,
And
dude.
you're
Oh,
like-
it's so fast.
and it's so
It
fast,
exports the
and
video
and
so
then the
quick.
battery just doesn't
So
drop,
wait,
right?
Yeah.
Is it faster because we went from Qualcomm to MediaTek? Was it
I
faster
think so.
because
No,
generationally
big
everything
cores.
is...
No,
I think
it's big
because of how
cord.
they built the
Cores,
chipset, so it's
yes.
more efficient
So
when it
you
comes
know-
to higher power
At
processing.
the event, I cornered an executive who was scared to death of me, and I said, why did you pick this chip? Not that I have a problem with it, I love it.
Yeah.
But why? I want to hear a
Your reasoning.
technical reason of why.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, actually, we decided that sustained performance was critical.
Yep.
And we felt that it
Oh.
performed better.
Because
at
it does. You
sustained
don't get those
performance
dips.
than
It does
any
not
other
let off.
tablet chips at the time.
It's awesome.
And he said
Yeah.
tablet chip, and I
And,
was like,
and
uh-huh.
Dimensity
You're
9300
just
Exactly.
dodging here.
really stretches its legs when you give it that surface area.
It does.
for
Yeah.
for a tablet. Like my Vivo, I know I've got a hot rod, but I know when I need to baby it.
Right.
So I
And
I
that
know
too,
when I
like
can push
the
the
tablet,
throttle.
it don't get hot. Like
It don't.
whenever you're using it, it don't get hot.
But I should like to piggyback on that because I've always tried to show like LumaFusion
Yeah.
performance, and
Yeah.
it's we can demonstrate like a 5 to 10% difference in N22 benchmark.
Right.
Who
It
cares?
is a 50% speed advantage in rendering. I have a Vivo X100 Pro that if I do the exact same edits in DaVinci Resolve on my workstation, I have a phone that's hanging with a Threadripper and a 4070 Ti.
Yep.
And that's like mind-blowing to me that it's doing that at like 12 watts.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it is, I felt like when I
Yeah.
heard Samsung went Dimensity, that is a huge boon. That is a chip
And
that is,
it's also in line with what they promised us at the summit last year,
and
which was that a flagship device would come to North America with a 9300.
but also,
so
how
happy.
many times have you heard, oh, well, see, the thing is it's higher performance, so it gets the job done faster, and then it scales, and then you save battery.
But then the battery just dies.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I feel like we've really gotten that. These last couple of years, and especially into this year, it's the perfect time to be revisiting conversations about do more with your phone
Absolutely.
and really try to drive it
Juan
hard.
likes to push that a little bit.
I soapbox a
It's
lot.
like bread and butter right there.
As,
On that note,
my
we should
favorite.
wrap up.
yeah, we probably should.
Nick,
All right.
Nick, where can they find you on the internets?
You can find me personally at Nick M. Gray, or if you want to follow my work on mobile stuff, you can do at Fandroids on social media or fandroid.com, and that's PHANDROID.
Pretty hot.
Yeah.
Pretty
And
hot.
Shannon, where can they find you?
My YouTube channel is the main source for tech content, youtube.com/Shannon Morse. And I recently was added as a contributor for Geekspin, so you'll probably see me there as well.
Oh, we're gonna
Nice.
see.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're gonna be besties on
Yeah.
Geekspin.
Yes.
I love that site because not only is Elena awesome, but you got all this lifestyle related tech stuff there.
I may have other things
Yay.
in the works, so I'll have to wait until the contracts are
And
signed
then
to announce.
social.
Oh yeah, at Snubs, SNUBS. That's the best place. Or mainly Instagram.
Follow,
and Threads.
subscribe, support
Yeah.
women creators.
I'm not on X anymore. No thanks.
No, thanks.
I think we've all kind of moved on from that.
Yeah, it's the fading day crescendo.
Threads is the place to be.
JC,
Yeah, I'm some gadget guy everywhere. I've got the Patreon, also some gadget guy, and YouTube channel. So I'm pretty easy to find.
well, you know where to find me, folks. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL. That's my social media handle everywhere. I'm still on Twitter, where you want to call it, although not very active there. I still have some fans, so just hanging out there a bit. But mostly Threads and a bit Blue Sky, a bit of Mastodon. And of course, Insta, because that's Threads. And so find me there. The podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com on all the big platforms. So Spotify, Google, Apple. Subscribe, tell your friends, rate the show if your app lets you, review the show if your app lets you. And then youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. That's where you'll find some videos like the unboxings of the Find X series. And so you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment. And then comment. I'd love to know what your thoughts are of the two X8. Will you pick the X8 or the X8 Pro? Because the specs are out there. So let me know in the comments. And then finally, I want to tell you about my Patreon, patreon.com/tankgirl. That's patreon.com/TNKGRL. If you're listening to this, there's a video version. If you're watching it already, you know about it. It's on Patreon. It's exclusive to Patreon. It's $5 a month for every week. You get a video and you get extra content like bloopers. Sometimes you go overtime and I leave that in. And and it's a day in advance. So there's other tiers if you want to support me in other ways, but check out the Patreon for the video version, patreon.com/TNKGRL. And I also want to thank MediaTek for being our sponsor for this trip, putting us up, taking us to Taj Mahal, and being generally awesome. Also providing this Lava Agni 3 phone for us.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a sponsor of this episode as well. So thanks, MediaTek.
MediaTek, the world's fifth largest global fabless semiconductor company, powers more than 2 billion connected devices each year and is a market leader in developing innovative systems on chips, SoCs for mobile device, home entertainment, connectivity, automotive, and IoT products.
And thank you all for being my guests again on a bus on the way to the Taj Mahal. This is kind of cool.
This is wonderful. This is like the most unique podcast.
This is the Mobile Tech Podcast.
This is definitely the most punk rock. We've done cool casts. This is the bus cast. So punk rock.
I think cool. To take this to the next level, you would have to do in an airplane at 30,000 feet.
Yes.
All right.
Right.
Maybe do a follow.
We'll see you next week, folks, with another show. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bam.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.